Isiah Thomas was on NBA TV and questioned the quality of play in the league when you have nearly a 40-year-old guard like Ray Allen wavering on whether or not he still wants to play. So, Chris, let's talk about what Isiah Thomas said. Does he have a point?
I think he has a great point. Isiah was saying, look, I'd have been insulted back when I played in the 80s if a 40-year-old guard thinks he can give me the business. And he's coming out here thinking he can still play with us. And I agree. And I think Isiah's point, the first thing he said was that shows you how bad the league has gotten. And you talk to a lot of players from Isiah's era, and they do feel like the quality of play is down. I would tend to agree. I would say this. The players are more athletic than ever. I think the ball handling is better than ever, perhaps because they let you carry now. You know,
and no hand checking.
Yeah, no hand checking. And I think the jump shooting, especially from three-point land, that's undeniably better. But what these players don't, for the most part, understand is five-man team basketball. You Atlanta, San Antonio, Golden State to a degree, and Memphis. They play five-man team basketball, and that's why they're all successful, even though certainly in Atlanta's case, they may not have the greatest roster. San Antonio's case, all their stars are way past their prime, and they still were able to run through the league last year and may have a chance this year. I see too much individual one-on-one play, too many guys dominating the basketball, over-dribbling, not much ball movement, hardly any player movement, and that's not nearly as good as it was in the 80s and 90s. There was far more player movement and ball movement, and that's better basketball.
Right.
It's a higher quality of basketball.
Yeah, I'm looking at it as more of a Ray Allen. I agree with you, and I agree with Isiah, but I'm also thinking that this is a different situation because the game has changed, and Ray is not just a player who's going to be out there giving somebody the business. At this point in his career, he's a specialist.
So you think at 40 years old next year, he can come back and play?
It depends on what role they're going to put him in. If they get him down to knock down shots, then maybe.
He got to guard some people, too, though.
That's the problem, is that, but he's still a specialist, and I'm thinking, in Isaiah's day, would he say the same thing about, like, a Glenn Rice or...
Glenn Rice could ball.
You said, like, Ray, I'm talking about at the same stage.
So you say, but that's his point. Glenn Rice didn't play it.
I know, but I'm saying, but he wasn't physically able to, but Ray's still in shape to at least we get up and down the court. All Ray needs to do is hit a couple of shots. The clip we just showed of Ray was hitting a shot. At this point in time, the NBA is structured where you have specialists. Your job is to go out there and do this. Yes, we can mask that you won't play defense, but hell, it's like a running back who, we gonna put you in the third down. This situational situation where Ray Allen could benefit a team. If they're gonna if Cleveland doesn't have that one player they need to stretch and hit that in a game time situation, Ray, you go through practice, you're only gonna play 10 minutes a game. That's it. But we need you to do this, and you can do this well because you can still do that better than everybody else. They just didn't have that back in the day. But the Chris Mullins, and we're going way back to the Rick Barrys, even if Reggie Miller wanted to play right now, could he go out there and hit a listen to what I'm saying? Could he hit a jumper? And I'm just saying, in Isiah days, they just didn't do that back then. I agree the play has fallen off. But I think the situation is different because we're not looking for Ray to come in and give you anything but hitting a big shot. That's it. He's a specialist.
He's a specialist. And look, guys can shoot. If you can shoot, you can shoot. But you still have to get open. You still have to guard. You still have to adapt to the speed of the game at 40 years old, having been away for 2 years.
Freddie, your take on what Isiah Thomas had to say.
Isiah has a point, but I think the point he was trying to make, as far as I'm concerned, was that the smarts are not there in the NBA based on what he's used to seeing. Because of the athleticism, plenty of guys believe, I can just out-athlete a guy and do what I want, whether it's getting open with the ball in his hands or what DeAndre Jordan, what we've seen time and time again, where he knows if he gets up in the air, guys do not want to be a part of that poster. You're in the air, all right, let's take the ball in that, we're going to go the other way. Isiah Thomas looks at teams that he had to deal with, even teams that were fringe teams, like the New York Knicks with Bernard King. He knew that team was going to be a devil of a team to play because they were so smart, and Hubie Brown was an outstanding coach. That's why he's in the Basketball Hall of Fame. He doesn't see that now. They're great coaches, sure. Greg Popovich, what he's been able to do with the San Antonio Spurs, that guy's a Hall of Fame coach. But I think he looks at a team, maybe he looks at a team like Oklahoma City, what Russell Westbrook's been able to do, and he says, yeah, that'll get you 50 to 55 wins in this day and age in the NBA, but you're not going to win championships just being a total one-on-one team, an athletic kind of team. He looks at a Golden State and he says, they share the basketball. They create spots. They create space. They create those looks for those players because he feels that's smart. that intelligence is no longer part of the NBA game. And he looks at it from championship teams when they did it with Detroit back-to-back times, with the Celtics when they overtook them, the Bulls after them, the New York Knicks in the 70s, San Antonio last year. He says, why don't we see that more often? Because he knows that way works. And I think that's the part that bugs him more than anything else. He doesn't want to just see guys carrying the basketball and dunking. Yeah, anybody can do that in the NBA. But what are you going to do when things really get tight and you're not allowed to do that when you play a team that won't let you do that, that's smarter than you?
Well, you see what teams do when things get tight.
One-on-one.
At the end of a game.
Clear out.
When LeBron against Houston. At the end of regulation, he held the ball for like 15 seconds against Trevor Ariza and then dribbled and shot a three. Why not run a play?
Exactly.
And it's not just the Cavaliers and LeBron, the Bulls with Derrick Rose. So many of these teams, at the end of a game, they just give it to their best guy and let him go 1-on-4. Run a play. Have options. You can put it in your best guy's hands, but let him have the option to shoot. If I can't get a shot, you're running something for somebody else who's a second or a third option.
Okay, here's what I agree. I agree with Isaiah, but I'm thinking in this particular context, we're speaking of Ray Allen, exactly to your point. Just put him on the court for that play. Like,
Well,
look, LeBron, you're that guy. Go in there, but everybody's converged on you. We know this guy's going to hit this shot. He's a specialist. That's what he's on the roster for. I don't want to take out of context the person we're talking about. We're not talking about Ray Allen coming back and playing 30 minutes and averaging 18. We're not asking a lot. And in the playoff, the roster shrink anyway.
Right.
So if you can't hit that shot, you need a specialist. In San Antonio's case, let's say next year he decides to come back to San Antonio and maybe Tim Duncan's still there and Manu's still there. And you know, Kawhi's still there. Everything's still the same. Look, we're not going to play the 10th, 11th, and 12th man on this bench. But if we put Ray Allen on this team, if we sign him after, trading deadline, whatever, we get him on the team, just put him on this roster so when we play against Oklahoma City, we can do exactly that. Tony Park can go in and we got somebody outside of Danny Green that has a possibility of hitting that shot and getting us over. If you have to pay Ray Allen minimum amount of money to do that, it doesn't hurt you.
But how much of Ray Allen is going to buy into that? Because he's thinking, I'm coming back to the NBA at 40, and I'm going to be that same cat that helped Miami. That's on the Ray Allen thing.
If he thinks that, then he's delusional.
Okay, I want to make sure that we clear that up then.
No, I'm thinking he's coming back to say, hey, look, I can still contribute the same way I did, just hit big shots.
But this is the thing, Scoop. I mean, I'm with you. He can shoot. He's always going to be able to shoot. But you have to be in a rhythm. Okay, you can't just say, dudes play 1 minute the whole game, and then I'm going to throw him in, oh, we need a big shot. I mean, I'm not saying he couldn't hit a shot, but that's just unrealistic to think teams will just do that. Yeah, I just think, I think Ray is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
If he wants to come back, more power to him. But I just think at 40 years old, you will have been away from the game for about 2 years.
Yeah, you got to let that go.
You need to step back. But I think to Freddie's point, really what Isaiah was saying is it speaks to the quality of play. What most teams do nowadays, even some of our better teams, they run everything through their top 1 or 2 players. And even if that player doesn't shoot, he's creating it for a teammate. What I'm saying is get some ball movement, get some player movement, and get everybody involved. You're still going to have your best players. Larry Bird and Magic Johnson didn't dominate the ball, but they were the best players, but they got it in the system. And I think you need to see more of that. If Atlanta wins it somehow, then you'll see some of this change.
It'll be more the San Antonioization.
It'll be more copy.
Does that go to the players' culture, or does that go to the coaching culture?
I think it's a coaching culture.
I think it's the coaching culture. The coaching culture.
I think AAU is a big part of it,
absolutely.
too.
And the fundamentals.
Guys grow up dominating the
and the fundamentals at high school level, we don't see that because it seems like once and one took over, every kid wanted to be like the professor or half man, half amazing. None of those guys made the NBA other than Skip to Malou, and he learned to play the NBA game because he knew that was the way he was going to stick around. You continue to have that lack of fundamentals at the lower levels, you're going to get this one-on-one mentality, and coaches like, well, I need this guy to win, so I better let him do what he wants.
The question was,
then they're going to win a championship.
did Isaiah Thomas have a point about what he said?
Yes.
Ray Allen turns 40 on July 20th. During Isaiah Thomas's 13-year career, only one other player played at the age of 40. You know, everyone want to take a guess?
Kareem. He mentioned Kareem.
Yeah, so look at
no
you.
guards.
And then what about the 39-year-old?
There was a 39-year-old.
There was not a 39-year-old? Who was that?
Kevin Willis.
No?
No,
Did he get close?
Not Kevin McHale.
Robert Parrish.
Oh,
Robert Parrish.
The chief.
Big men. Big men can play longer.
Yeah.
When you have guards at 40.
At 40? No.
then it does speak to the quality of play.
Let's move along, shall we? Crazy play at the end of regulation in the Clippers game last night. Chris
Speaking of-
Paul missed a potential game winner, and when DeAndre Jordan grabbed his rebound, he just held the ball in his hand because he thought that time had expired. CP3 begging, screaming, Jordan, shoot the ball, man. I mean, look,
Speaking of fundamentals.
Exactly.
his reaction was priceless, guys. So what is your reaction, Scoop?
My reaction to Chris's reaction or my reaction to DeAndre?
Both.
please.
I get in that moment Chris's reaction because they still had a chance to win the game, and DeAndre just got caught up in the moment of that buzzer being the final buzzer as opposed to understanding there was 1 more second left between the shot clock and the game clock. I can't speak to what happened. I don't know if that was discussed in the huddle. Like, look, you know, my sale, and I said it in the early morning meeting, Doc Rivers probably sold it as, look, we're going to run the play. Chris, you're going to get free. After Chris makes the shot, the game is over. Coaches are historically good on overselling a play and letting you know, like, hey, once he makes these 2 free throws, we have to go back out. So they sell what you think is going to happen. It's a positive sale. And I think maybe in this positive sale, Chris is hitting the shot. DeAndre heard the buzzer, he's like, he missed it. He didn't click the there's still 1 more second. There's a second difference between shot clock and the game clock.
2 things about this play. Number one, if you look at it, the clock stopped and the ball didn't go.
Yeah.
It stopped at 0.7. So
Yeah.
DeAndre Jordan may not have been able to get a shot up anyway. The clock should have continued because the ball didn't go in. Number 2, Chris Paul looked like Chappelle's show. When he was dressed up as Prince, shoot the J, shoot it. That's what he looked like to me, trying to get DeAndre Jordan to shoot that shot. Josina Anders was out in our morning meeting, our ESPN reporter. She said that he had what was it called, the face, the frustration face, or whatever it was.
He was looking like, shoot that dang ball.
And he was like trying to do everything. And DeAndre Jordan is looking around completely oblivious
Clueless
to
to it all.
what's going on at that standpoint. That was pure comedy.
He had a JaVale McGee moment.
Oh, man, you never want to have
Yo,
that.
and is he going to be on? I hate to, cross line, but I see Shaq and the fool all over this.
Oh, completely. This is not top 10 plays on Sports Center. No question.
Chris, your reaction.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, I think we're making light of it. You know, DeAndre's had a great season and really a great run with Blake out. But the thing is, there is some seriousness to this.
That's what I was about to go to.
Because that was a game, they're a game and a half behind Portland.
Yeah.
And home court advantage in the West, I mean, every series in the West, you're going to face a tough opponent.
Yeah.
But home court advantage
It's serious.
could be the turning point between in a series. So if they win that game, they're now a half game behind Portland with a chance to, pass them. So
It's hard to win in Portland, too.
that's a tough loss. And I understand why Chris and the rest of the teammates were like upset.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you gotta put that up.
Poetic justice, if you believe in it. Do you think there'll come a point in time before the season's over, as tight as the West is, where he's actually on the free throw line to win a game and he makes it to make up for this loss?
DeAndre Jordan?
Yeah.
That DeAndre Jordan?
Right. No way?
No way. No. That guy's...
Why are you so quiet?
Oh.
You've been making these faces all morning.
I mean, I'm thinking I was with you until you said, and he makes it.
I said poetic justice. The message, to cover up, to get past.
That's not poetic justice. That's a dream. No disrespect to DeAndre Jordan, because he's been great defensively.
He's
I
been
think Defensive
terrific.
Player of the
Yes.
Year.
No disrespect, did you just say?
Well, his free throws are disrespect by him not making those free throws. So,
Okay, look.
I mean,
do
come
me a
on.
favor.
That's not poetic justice. That's a dream.
Do me a favor. When it happens, just tweet.
Oh, I'll give him all the credit in the world.
No. Just
I'll
holler
give
at
you
me.
the credit.
I'll let your boy. Holler at your boy. That's all
I
I'm
don't
saying.
think I'll be making that tweet.
All right.
Right now, I don't think I'll be
All right, no
making that
problem.
tweet.
When it happens,
hold
when it
your
happens.
breath.
Right.
All
All right. Okay.
Coming up next, the draft falls on one of the biggest sports weekends in the year. So let's talk about what's going to happen that weekend. We have Mel Kiper joining us after the break.